And for our next agenda item, I call on Carla Oliver to present the order calling a May 7th, 2016 Plano ISD bond election. Ms. Oliver?
Thank you, President Humphrey. Based on your comment about the order calling the May 7th, 2016 bond election, it is available for your approval this evening. And the election is obviously based on the recommendation by the Plano ISD Facilities and Technology Task Force to the Plano ISD trustees for your consideration. It authorizes for a single proposition.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion on the table?
I move that we approve the election order for the May 7th, 2016 Plano ISD bond election.
All right, is there a second?
I second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the election for the order of the May 7th, 2016 Plano ISD bond election. Is there any discussion?
Yes. Yeah, I've got comment. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll start. I'm older. First of all, I wanted to thank the task force. I see at least one member of the task force, if not more, for all their work, the hours and days that they spent. I want to thank Steve for pushing hard to get to all the 3 goals that we had. And I don't want that my following comment is going to reflect bad on you or say that in any way I'm not happy with what you have achieved. Having said that, I am going to vote against this motion. I would like the reasons to be on the record. And first of all, I want to make very clear that I'm not objecting to any specific item on the bond package. The only thing that I object to is the fact that we're doing that as a single proposition and we're not giving the voters the choice of deciding how they want to balance between giving the district what the district wanted, reducing tax rate, and reducing the overall debt level. So on that basis, I'm going to vote against. Once again, I am not against any single item on this ballot.
Mr. Stolle, you've had some comments?
I do, yeah. When a school district goes out and asks for a bond and asks their constituents and their taxpayers to approve a bond, it is a contract of trust. I think that was the term that was used at our work session, whereby the public has approved the use of these funds, and they are trusting us as a board to use them prudently. I think that this district specifically, and this board specifically, with the exception of Dr. Solomon, who wasn't on the board, for the past 4 or 5 years, has made a lot of good choices in terms of spending our dollars wisely, being prudent with our dollars, being prudent with our bonds. This is not, the presentation tonight, I think, is a pleasant irony that we have the opportunity to do a refund where we're saving our taxpayers $70 million. We are setting our future course in an even better position. Yeah, you guys have to hit 70 now. But we are putting the district, we're putting our taxpayers, our constituents, and everybody here on the right path, in my opinion, with this, with the refunding and with what we're doing in the future. And so I think what this tells me is that we have done things that are trustworthy. We have done things that are wise with these dollars, and that's what we're going to ask the taxpayers to recognize, is that we have a history of doing things the right way, and that's why we're asking for these dollars now in a single proposition, and I will be voting for it.
I would just like to add that I'm very grateful for the time that the subcommittee has spent on this. And I know there were all kinds of discussions, very in-depth, and they did a great job. We had wonderful representation throughout the school district, and from parents to businesses, whatever. My thing that I would like the PISD community to realize is we haven't had a bond for 8 years. And yes, we've been very frugal. Don't think that didn't come at a cost, because it did. And now I'm glad to see this opportunity where we can jump back on and be proactive and deliver some things that we really wanted to, potentially some of us a couple of years ago. I know I've been asking for a bond for quite a while, especially because of my concerns with technology, that we were dropping behind on that part. But we're here. You have, if the community has questions, please do ask, and we can definitely point you to the right person to explain why the package looks the way it does. So I thank y'all again.
Well, I'd like to reiterate the community's participation in the task force for the facilities and technology, the study of those needs. And as Carolyn pointed out, it's been almost 8 years since we've gone out to bond, and our district was very prudent in the way it managed the capital needs through this interim period. But we're not going to have that opportunity to continue. And various states throughout the country handle facilities and capital needs differently. And some states actually provide grants annually, and some of them require property wealth in that criteria. Some of them consider the actual building needs and the age of the buildings. But in Texas, we don't really get a lot of assistance from the state unless we are a needy district. And I've got a lot of information here regarding that. But the existing debt allotment, which is part of the TEA, they provide grants to districts, but it's on a property wealth basis, so we don't ever see those funds. Same with the instructional facilities allotment. The state puts up matching fund, but they start with the needy districts, and when the fund runs out, it runs out. So in our district, we are required to fund our capital needs. And I think that we've had a history, as Mr. Stolly put it, of the fidelity with the way we spend the money that the public puts into our trust. And we honor the purpose that the bonds are initially set forth to build our facilities and our capital needs. I think that Plano ISD has the highest standalone credit ratings by AAA and AA plus of any district in the state of Texas. And those ratings are based on a history of strong financial performance. We boast low administrative cost per student versus high spending for instructional needs for each student. So we balance that. We put our money where the students' needs are. And we're in a high recapture district. And if we're able to have a strong financial performance in a high recapture district, that speaks volume to the bond rating companies. We have always had strong reserves. That's favorably looked at. We have historical fidelity in deploying our bond issuances. We have wide community support for education in this district. Our community members value education. People move into this district because of the wonderful quality education our students get. Our accounting department has, for 32 consecutive years, achieved the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting. We have the top score of the TEA FIRST ratings, which correlate your academic achievements and your financial performance, so you couldn't have a better combination. And we have a balanced budget. I will say that the board I made certain we had 2 work sessions to discuss the bond. We had one on December 1st, and again, we asked the bond task force to look at other items, and so they came back with a recommendation to us. We had another open public discussion on January 19th. And then in December, we had a public hearing, where the public came and spoke about the different components of the bond. And the district outsourced a survey, I'm losing my voice, sorry, by Basilise and Associates that showed overwhelming support for the bond proposal. And this is all with no tax increase, and the debt service that we will owe in 5 years will be less than what's on the books today. So I fully support the administration's amazing partnership with its financial managers to come up with this bond that our students and community need to support our public education here in Plano.
So I'd like to share a few thoughts. Each trustee had the opportunity to appoint a number of members to this bond committee that I'll call it the facilities committee, that worked for a very long time on evaluating the different projects and programs that staff was bringing forward, and thinking about the merits and bringing up other ideas if they had some. Several staff members served on that too. They really, I mean, if you've come to these meetings, you've heard us all talk about how they grappled with this a lot. And I really want to honor the recommendation of this group, because I feel like it would be less than genuine of me not to honor their work, because we appointed them. We assigned responsibility to them, and I think it's our responsibility to challenge them, which we did, and they came back and challenged us. And that's how it's supposed to work. So I not only want to honor the time and the recommendations that they made in project form and structure form, I also think about the counsel that we received from our bond counsel having to do with structure. And the question that was posed related to when is it that when do districts structure things in an aggregate way, and what happens when they structure in a disaggregate way? And the response relating to pros and cons had to do with flexibility. And you've heard comments about trustworthiness and delivering on commitments and so forth. And as it relates to the 2008 bond and others, I'll just use the 2008 as an example, the structure of that allowed the boards during that period of time great flexibility that we use to our advantage, to the community's advantage. And what that means is when you have an aggregate bond program, when you realize savings after you've delivered on the projects that you have committed to deliver on, you are able to exercise those savings or not exercise those savings. Carolyn mentioned how long it's been since we've had a bond. Well, that's because we had a significant economic downturn. And to be responsible, we didn't want to come back to the community for another bond program. But because we had the savings there, we could leverage them and bring those assets to deal with emergencies that had surfaced in our community. And I feel like that was a very responsible thing to do. If we disaggregated, and what I'm saying is if we had multiple measures upon which the community could weigh in or out of, that flexibility disappears. And your ability to deliver is restricted to that one thing that the community has weighed in on in one way or another. So I believe it is my responsibility to look into the future and prepare this district to respond to the things that we know about and the things that we don't know about. And I'm going to support the recommendation from the bond committee in the projects that they have proposed and the structure that they have proposed, because I feel like it is the responsible thing to do.
I just want to echo my support for both the work done by the bond committee and the work we did as trustees grappling with issues that we knew would require trade-offs. I think we want to continue to serve the children of Plano and support the teachers of Plano so they can achieve the goals we expect them to be. We don't want to be second rate to anyone. I will brag again, as Nancy brought out, our tax rate will not increase. We'll be good stewards of your tax dollars, and we will still have the second lowest tax rate in Collin County. I believe only Farmersville is lower. And so certainly we are lower than our neighbors to the north, McKinney, Allen, Frisco. And so we're proud of the fact that we are good stewards of the money you entrust to us.
All right. We have a motion on the table, and I don't hear any more discussion. Is that correct? All right. I will call for a vote. All of those in favor, please raise your hand. All right. We have 6-4. All those opposed, please raise your hand. And 1 against. And the motion carries. Oh, yes, sir.
I just asked to comment. I too appreciate the work of the committee and echoing some of the comments here. When you look at things that have already been said, our ability to do these things without raising our taxes, really staying focused on different amortization efforts, that a lot of ways of structuring, looking at paying principal quicker to drop ultimately the interest that we would pay and save the taxpayers. And in the end, the only other thing I would add is that always keeping an eye on 5 years down the road, that we believe we will have placed the organization in a position where no matter who is up here or whatever committee meets, they're actually going to probably be in better position to make some of these decisions then than we are even today. So those are meeting some very good standards. So the only reason I wanted to make a comment, echo what Ms. Mobius said, we now stand, now that the vote is taken, at the ready to come out and inform any and all citizens, and we'll be doing that pretty aggressively. I'm speaking to 2 groups tomorrow. I now know what I'll be telling them, and so we just offer to our community that we know the more that they become informed, the better off we all are. This is an important issue for everyone, and we will work very, very hard to make sure all of our citizens have a complete understanding of what's in the package and how we intend to utilize it to serve 55,000 children here in this community. So if you're in the audience or happen to be watching, and you think I have a group that I would love to have the superintendent or somebody come speak to us about the bond package, we will be there and look forward to doing that repeatedly. So thank you, Board.
All right. Thank you.